Hello fellow explorers of the arcane and adventurous, and welcome back to Third Rate Content. And today we are delving into the world of Gone to Earth. Not just a film, it's actually woven into the tapestry of the folklore of Shropshire. It's a tapestry rich with history, mystery, folklore, legend and magic. Join me as we revisit the very places and locations where this magical movie was filmed and created, and perhaps we'll uncover some magic of our very own. So buckle up and I'll see you out here. Gone to Earth wasn't just a film, it was an odyssey through the Shropshire landscape, inspired by Mary Webb's novel of the same name. Published in 1917, Webb's work captured the essence of rural life, blending it with a touch of the supernatural. The film's rights were eventually acquired by David O. Selznick, who saw potential in translating this tale to the screen, a bit with some significant alterations. With many of the locations we visit on Third Rate Content being like a movie or movie worthy, today they are movie worthy. These locations were in Gone to Earth, and we will be starting our journey in much Wenlock, a town that's seen its fair share of history, mystery and folklore, legend and magic. But here the fabric of Gone to Earth begins to weave into reality. Imagine Hazel walking these streets, her connection to nature palpable in every step. This town, with its ancient roots, could easily be a stage for folklore to come alive. The plaques do look a little different. They may have changed in the 75 years since the filming of Gone to Earth. So we get the establishing opening shot of much Wenlock. And you can see the 1890s policeman guiding traffic. The crossroads here. And you can see the building, the white building on the left in the background. That was actually brick coloured back in 1949 when the movie was shot. You could see all the market stalls just along in front of this black and white building. The Guildhall and the church. You couldn't actually see the church in the background, but you could see the houses going up the street. Not a huge amount has changed actually, except for the Georgian looking building in the background being painted white now. And this one did have the black paint on it, because this building was featured in A Gone to Earth, starring the Oscar winner Jennifer Jones. She did actually come out of the door just down here, and it was all black then. And by black, I mean the timber framing was painted black at that time. Yeah, and there was a little table with a mirror on just about here, which Hazel does check herself out in. She's looking mighty fine.
Who forgot the old one?
This kind of crossbeam gives it away, really. You get that chap in the straw hat, he's taking a notice of Hazel. Yeah, so here in the old Guildhall, we follow Hazel with her new dress on to meet her cousin, Albert. Just about there would have been standing the great George Cole.
I say,
who became known in the British Isles and around the world as Arthur Daly in the hit ITV show Minder. His stall would have just been over here. He was actually trying to sell margarine, and he did come up against the first time we see Mr. James in the movie. Right about here, he's trying to tell Mr. James that margarine is better than butter.
Margarine, Mr. James, is just as good as butter.
Butter's made of milk.
Ah, but where does the milk come from? From the cow. And what does a cow eat?
Buttercups.
Hey, Albert.
And Mr. James isn't having any of it, probably rightly so. Cousin Albert is being like a very much a rural young Arthur Daly at this point, which is quite ironic considering what he went on to in his later career. Because Cousin Albert does actually, because Hazel's looking so good in her new dress, he says, "Hazel, you're jam. And then he says, "You're butter," sort of extolling how good she looks. And he's forgotten he was an advocate of margarine. So he'd forgotten about that. Hazel looks so good.
My gum, Hazel, you're butter.
You do see the rounded windows at the back of the room here quite prominently in the film. The Guildhall, built in two phases in 1540 and 1547, built to replace the priory after the dissolution of the monasteries. The local governance needed a headquarters, and this was built in answer to that. Undern had gone to earth, but here at Longner Hall, the next location, we find the home of the lustful squire Jack Reddin. It's easy to imagine the fox hunts and the fiery passions that played out here, mirroring the wild, untamed spirit of Hazel herself. But this isn't just any manor. The surrounding lands, as we know, are steeped in folklore. With this not being far from Roman ruins, tales of fairies and folklore, and the whole area steeped in history, mystery and legend. So the first shot of Undern, otherwise known as Longner Hall, is this. Andrew Vesson steps out to meet Hazel. Right here we had the haunting picture of Hazel in her lovely scarlet dress. As you can see, the sundial wasn't stage dressing. Hazel stood right here in the morning after spending the night here at Undern / Longner Hall. And Hazel and Andrew Vessons great on the horse-drawn cart this way. Interesting. And just past the window there would be where the topiary swan is from a yew tree.
Have you ever got a swan made out of a yew tree? Well, I have. 20 years I've been a-clipping him. Only the beak is...
And as Andrew Vesson said, have you got a swan made out of a yew tree? I don't think so. They don't have that at God's Little Mountain, but they have a music and beehives. Vessons once again up the yew tree. You'll not have another bite of that apple.
Long live the minister, say I.
Here is the tomb of Edward Burton. Classic view of this Gothic style Tudor recreation manor house, built in 1803 on the site of a pre-existing residence. But this whole site has been owned by the Burton family from what is thought is the Middle Ages. And that is the very door that Hazel runs into. when Vessons is kinetically opposing the blackbirds. She runs in to tell Jack, tell him to stop shooting, and you can tell it's the same door because of the 4 glass panels just above the door. As Vessons runs out, you can actually see this gate behind him, doorway, and the wall, the castellated wall on top. It's got that nice ivy on it now, though everything looks a lot more prim now. There's no topiary swan anymore, but there's a topiary peacock. Squire Redding just comes out of the window stroke door there, shouts at Vessons to stop shooting at the blackbirds. And notice the broken window there. Longner Hall was in a state of disrepair in 1949 during the filming. The author of Gone to Earth, Mary Webb, was born into the heart of Shropshire, a land rich with tales and traditions. Her novels are steeped in the region's folklore, nature, and the mystique of rural life. But what if I told you that part of her inspiration came from a woman whose life's work was to document these very stories? Charlotte Byrne, born in the 19th century, was the first woman to become president of the Folklore Society. Her work, particularly Shropshire Folklore, A Sheaf of Gleanings, captured the essence of the region's folklore, much like Webb would do a generation later. Byrne's meticulous collection of tales and traditions and the supernatural elements of Shropshire provided a rich tapestry for anyone interested in the area's cultural heritage. Although there is no direct evidence of personal interaction between Byrne and Webb, the influence is palpable in how both women portrayed the land and its people. Consider Webb's characters like Hazel Wooders, who navigate a world where nature and magic intertwine. This is not far from the tales Byrne documented, where the natural world was often imbued with magic and mystery. Webb's Shropshire, with its dark woods and mystical hills, echoes Byrne's descriptions of a land where folklore shapes reality. One can perhaps imagine Mary Webb reading Byrne's works by candlelight, her imagination sparked by the stories of fairies, witches, and the old ways. This shared love for Shropshire's soul, its legends, its characters, its very soil, connects these two women across time. And I'd just like to say the YouTube channel Java in the Raw has much more detailed videos on both of these Shropshire characters, Mary Webb and Charlotte Byrne, and I would recommend those videos if you are interested in these subjects. Our next location lies in the hills just above Snailbeach and the ruins of the mines of the times of Gone to Earth. And we got the establishing shot of the welcoming committee. Reverend Marsden and his mother to the parish. Yeah, you can see the trees have grown up quite a bit in the last 70 years, as you'd expect. And the chapel is kind of obscured, but you can still see the angle that the film crew used in 1949. But interestingly, the window on this south wall that you can see, like a little balcony sort of window, on the gable end has been removed in the last 70 years. I wonder when that happened. If anybody knows, tell us in the comments. Thank you. And Hazel and her father Abel would have just sort of been making their way past the chimney stack you can see there in that direction down to the festivities. And just over there, the parson and his mother, Mrs. Marsden, were having a little meeting. Right about here.
I've asked Miss Wooders to supper.
Reverend Marsden's mother, played by Sybil Thorndike, and the Reverend Marsden would have had their little meeting here. And you could see the chimney stack in the background.
On Sunday.
She is not of your class, Edward.
What does class matter?
A relic of the mining industry. These litter this landscape. And what goes up must come down, as well as chimney stacks. There are mine shafts that riddle this area, but they have mostly been sealed up now, thankfully. Of course, it was around here that the verger, Mr. James, wasn't very happy about the jam tartlets.
All the years I've been to do is I've had tartlets, and tartlets I love. I paid the same as others.
I paid for jam tartlets, and jam tartlets I shall have. We are right in the depths of Shropshire, just up a random lane somewhere. So it's a Shropshire spring fair. Everybody has attended, including Hazel, her father, and everybody else. Lovely summer day here on Eton point-to-point racetrack. But like any Hollywood movie, the most part wasn't filmed here. Let's go to where it was filmed. So we're at the Shropshire County Fair, but we moved 20 miles from the racecourse at Eton Constantine over here to Ludlow Castle seamlessly. You would actually think it's the same place as the Shropshire County Fair of August 1897 was happening right here, but it was film trickery once again. But it was this shot from Ludlow, from just the field just outside Ludlow Castle. And Squire Edding leaves the horse race that he's part of, jumps over the fence on the horse and chases Jennifer Jones down like she was a fox, really, and gets up close on the horse and has a little word with her. And he says, "You got to come and talk to me tonight while there's dancing."
You've got to come and talk to me tonight while they're dancing.
I can.
Which Jennifer Jones says, "I canny." Squire Edding says, "I'll tell him you spent the night at Undern and he won't marry you."
If you don't, I'll tell the parson you stayed the night at London.
"You wouldn't do that, Mr. Edding."
You wouldn't do that, Mr. Reddington.
"Wouldn't I?"
And I...
So it's right here where there is now a playing field, football pitches and kids play park. I'm not sure what it was in 1949. Probably was a pleasure ground, or open to the public then. But this is where the filming would have happened. The production of Gone to Earth was nothing short of a magical but torrid affair. Directed by the legendary duo Michael Powell and Emmerich Priesberger, the film was meant to be a visual ode to the English countryside and its folkloric heart. However, after its completion, American producer David O. Selznick, married to the star of the movie, Jennifer Jones, took it upon himself to drastically alter the film. He did this for the US market, with the original version not living up to his expectations, and this led to a version titled The Wild Heart. This new cut was shorter, changed the narrative, and even had some new scenes shot in Hollywood. It stripped away much of the original's charm and depth, and it also had a new director, Ruben Mamalan. And to make matters worse for Foxy, as well as being uncredited, the fox used in the scene shot in Hollywood was actually a fake stuffed toy fox. Maybe the foxes are different in Hollywood, perhaps, or they didn't want to pay the importation costs for Foxy, or they just wanted to use a fake fox. Who knows? Squire Redding could have even got Foxy. If you do know anything, tell us in the comments. Thank you. Gone to Earth lay lost and surrounded in some controversy, and it wasn't for years that Powell and Priesberger's lost classic was found and restored in the original vision that they had wanted, and it did justice to the Mary Webb story. The movie starred David Farrar's Squire Redding, Jennifer Jones as Hazel Woodus, Cyril Cusack as Edward Marsden, Sybil Thorndike playing Mrs. Marsden, Edward Chapman playing Mr. James, Esmond Knight playing Abel Woodus, Hugh Griffith playing Andrew Vessons, and George Cole playing Cousin Albert. But next in the film, in a time of uncertainty, Hazel goes for her mother's spell book, and it leads her to the Devil's Chair and Stiperstones. And if you look very, very carefully and very, very closely, if you've got a magnifying glass, you can see me recreating the shot. I think it was raised a bit from this angle, but it's the best we could get, and you can see me walking the very steps that Hazel Woodus, Jennifer Jones, took in 1949, possibly in reverse. So it was on this very rock behind me here at Stiperstones that Jennifer Jones, Hazel Woodus, climbed up just here with her mother's magical spell from her book that she left to Hazel, and it's here that the fateful prayer stroke spell was cast, for good or for worse. Yeah, I just want to say, the fox in the original Gone to Earth movie didn't get credited. It was really, really sad, and I think a bit unjust. So today on the filming locations of Gone to Earth on Third Rate Content, we've got a fox, and he's wearing a high vis as well, so he's very safe. And Mr. Fox is going to be credited, rest assured. We haven't actually got a shawl to put on the rock today, but I've put my t-shirt on. And the next location is Pontersford or Pontersford Hill. We're just looking over towards the area where the movie was set. It did surprise me a bit when I first saw Gone to Earth that it was actually in Technicolor, not black and white. Yeah, this is where Hazel Woodus, played by Oscar winner Jennifer Jones, made her way to the top of Pontersford Hill. Obviously the trees weren't there then. I'm pretty sure they hadn't been planted or seeded then, so you could get a clear view of the Wrekin in the background. Then we got this shot, and it's unbroken. The trees weren't here then, but today they don't break the view. The next shot in this sequence is Hazel, and she's quite far in the background. And you got these trees, although they were a lot younger then and there was less of them. But you could just about make the figure of Hazel in white in the background. Just there, about there. If we go any further back into the woods, we won't be able to get the shot at all. And then Squire Reddin appears, the hunter after his quarry. And we did get the shot with Squire Reddin and his would-be love, Jennifer Jones. And you could actually see, I believe, it was a lot younger then, but this actual tree, just at the corner of the shot, it was quite a bit thinner, not quite as much girth on it then. But it's right here, just like it was in 1949. It's great to find these things. And of course the gate wasn't there then. Yeah, this tree is a movie star, and it appeared with an Oscar winner. And yet people walk past it every day and don't even say anything. They don't even realise. It's a bit like the fox in Gone to Earth. Uncredited, unsung and unheralded. But that's the way it goes with movies. This explains why we haven't been able to match up all the shots. And it's mainly down to forestry. There's been various programmes over the last 75 years that have made it much more thickly treed up here. Yeah, so it would have been a lot sparser up here in the late 40s, early 50s. And that's why you can't get the unbroken view through. But this tree was here when Squire Reddin rode past on his horse, as this is proof of. And it's nice to see other people looking out for Gone to Earth in the area, because hardly anyone really talks about it or knows about it. And I'm hoping our video, gives the people who love this movie something else, to watch. Lord's Hill Chapel, located just over the hill above Snailbeach, Shropshire, is an intriguing historical site and our next filming location. Its connection to the local mining community and religious history of the area is unique. It's not used as much these days as it was when the population was higher in the heyday of the mining community and industry, and that would have been around the time of Gone to Earth. And the house here would have been the Marsden household. Sybil Thorndike, Cyril Cusack and Jennifer Jones would have made this their home, but not shot on location. The actual interior shots were filmed at Shepperton Studios, Shepperton, Surrey. And we're just heading out to the back of the chapel to where Hazel was baptised. The Earl of Bath owned the lands around here, and he didn't allow a Baptist church, hence why Lord's Hill Chapel was built over the brow of the hill. So there may have been a real baptismal pond here, and you can see it's slightly overgrown and looks a tiny bit marshy. So this could be the remnants of it. And Squire Redding patrolled the perimeter of the church's consecrated ground, watching Hazel as she was baptised and welcomed into the flock. This is where Squire Redding stood as he smouldered away, looking at the home of the newlywed Parson Marsden family. Yeah, we can't actually get down there because it's completely overgrown now, and I've got shorts on with it being early September. It's full of nettles and I haven't got a machete. Sorry.
And I told Father I'd marry the first he's come. I swore it by the mountain.
And as we reach the end of our journey through the filming locations of Gone to Earth, I hope you've felt the magic of Shropshire as much as I have. From the quiet lanes of much Wenlock to the imposing silhouette of Ludlow Castle, each location has whispered its story, connecting us to the heart of this film. And you can see me just when I couldn't find my phone on its tripod. I had to phone it. So it all got resolved, as you can tell by the video. But anyway, we have walked where Hazel walked, felt the tension of her encounters and seen the beauty that inspired Mary Webb's words. This film, set against the backdrop of Shropshire's landscapes, isn't just a story. It's a testament to how places can influence tales, how nature can become a character in its own right. Filming locations are more than just backdrops. They're the silent narrators of stories. In Gone to Earth, Shropshire itself plays a role. Its hills, forests and halls adding both depth and authenticity to the narrative. The journey has not only taken us through the film, but through time into the very essence of folklore and history that Mary Webb so loved. And as we part ways, remember, every location has its story, every landscape its secret. Gone to Earth might be a film, but through its lens we've seen the magic of Shropshire, a place where the earth itself seems to tell tales of love, loss and life. The bust of Mary Webb here in the gardens of Shrewsbury Library was commissioned by the Mary Webb Society. It was unveiled in July 2016 to mark the centenary of her first novel, The Golden Arrow. The bust was created by local sculptor Gemma Pearson and cast in bronze at the Castle Fine Arts Foundry in Lanrider. But if you're in the Mary Webb Society and you watch this video, why don't you drop a comment and tell us what you think? And I hope they're just raindrops and Mary Webb is not crying because of our video. But thank you for coming along. There's always more to discover, and we're going to discover a lot more here on Third Rate Content. But thanks for joining me today. So if you have enjoyed, why don't you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, but thank you if you have, and hit the notification bell and leave a comment, because I do love to talk, as anybody who knows me will attest to. So thanks very much, and Third Rate Content signing out. See you soon. Bye bye.